So that kind of complicated things. I mean, like the question, we used to get the question, so what launch platform are you going to use? We would just say SpaceX, because that's what everybody said. SpaceX, if they were launching as many satellites as people said they were using his platform, I mean, he'd already be in Mars, right? So, I mean, it's like that's the standard blanket answer, right? I mean, you can't say Soyuz anymore.
Right.
So, we looked at it through the lens of we need a strategic launch partner, right? I mean, Rocket Lab is great. Love those guys.
Yeah.
Astra's great. Love those guys. And that's not to say we won't use them. But there are certain things that we have to lock down first that are strategic to us, which I won't go into, but okay. I'll say that, Steve, Steve's a great guy. And I think that, when we look at Evolution Space as a potential launch partner, what really got me with them was, and this is answering your question. These are the things that keep me up at night, is getting to orbit. I mean, building the satellites and raising the money and doing all this stuff, it's actually getting easier now. I mean, I remember when I first came down to Florida last year, I couldn't raise $500,000 to fund a convertible note. That's way behind us now.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time someone called me about, like, yeah, I want to take the note. I was like, are you sure? And then like getting the committed capital and actually, perfecting the pitch and really understanding who we are as a business and the identity, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Steve at Evolution Space has been an inspiration. Steve reminds me, I hate to say it like this because some people will think this is not a compliment, but I think it is. I mean, Steve reminds me of me. I mean, he's just full of passion. He came down to Miami for this crypto conference with one of his investors, and we went out to dinner with one of his other investors, and it was funny because for the first time in years, I went out to dinner and I got to eat my dinner. And Steve's sitting there pitching the whole time. I'm like, so that's what that feels like. But listen, Steve is a lot like me. He didn't have a classical education in rockets.
Yeah. He
actually went one step further. He's been building, amateur rockets his entire life.
Dang.
And he understands the inefficiencies and the efficiencies between a liquid propellant and a solid propellant, and the G-forces that can destroy a satellite in a solid propellant, right? Well,
Easily.
They've got some really cool things they're working on that make that not a big issue, which is my first question. I was like, okay, so, listen, my satellites can't take more than, 5 Gs. I mean, like 6 Gs, 8 Gs, whatever, you know? And he's like, yeah, well, we solved that problem. I was like, really? Just tell me more. So we're actually going out to a launch. I can't tell you the date or where it's at, but we're going out to a launch sometime in the next month or two. We're going to watch this amazing program he's built. And I'll say that he's got some amazing investors too. Kind of investors that it would take to launch, I don't know, a company like SpaceX. Yeah. So, listen, Steve's a great guy. Check out, Evolution Space.
Well, and the other benefit there is solid state rockets are dramatically cheaper. The complexity is
a lot cheaper.
Complexity is nil in comparison to hydropump liquid, all the craziness.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to lower petabyte cost per bit,
right?
Hey,
so you remember our North Star, right?
Yeah.
So he was speaking our language from the very first moment we met.